All right, hey there. I'm gonna go ahead and do this video live since I'll try to get the positioning right and I'll try not to shake the camera too much, but I'm gonna have to look at my notes for this video. Doing it live since I've figured out that I really record too many videos that I never post because of the production that has to go into it. So let's jump right into it. I had an experience, well, a series of experiences on May 20th and 21st, and I'm gonna share some of that with you today. And filming from my truck, it's always what I've found is my favorite place to film. Comfortable, pretty quiet. I can choose my location. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Some years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago, I had a conversation with nature. And what I discovered was that there is consciousness in nature that I wasn't aware of at the time. And I was thinking about our human experience and our effect on the planet, both positive and negative. And so I kind of asked nature, how do you feel about humanity being here? It was kind of a general question. And the fact that we use nature in order to survive. Now that I think about it, I actually wrote this down someplace, and I should go back and find out exactly what the conversation was because it was much better than this. But I'll just finish this. And the response was, there are certain sacrifices we're willing to make. And there was a certain understanding that I had of a partnership that we have with nature. And also, like I said, an awareness that there is a such thing as a spirit of nature, or many spirits. And I know that it's not a strange belief to hold. There's a lot of people that believe that, but that's very different than having the experience. And I had the experience. Well, fast forward to around May 20th, 21st of this year, I had a couple of more very interesting experiences, and I've had a few over the course, well, quite a few over the course of the last 20 years of relationships and partnering with nature, with the atmosphere, with weather systems and things like that in order to get things done, brings certain things to pass. I'm not going to get into detail. It's just going to be a stumbling block because you're going to be forced to decide whether or not you believe me or not. And that's not what this video is about. This is about whether you believe me or not about something different, but also the same, I suppose. This is why I should just record normal videos and edit out the parts that don't make sense. Uh, May 20th, 21st, had some experiences. And I sat down again and I felt like it was time to check in with the nature spirit or spirits. And I just kind of said, how are we doing, basically? And the response was, you are not honoring our agreement. And so we are going to stop honoring our side of the agreement. And let's see. I'm looking at some of my notes here so that this makes as much sense as I can. I tend to believe that humanity made an agreement with nature some time long ago. And I believe that animals and plants have agreed to play a supporting role in the mission of all of creation, us being a part of it. And that goal is the ascension of all things. That goal is the return of all things to our original state and to our original place in the world, occupying all of the dimensions that we were meant to occupy, and occupying all of the aspects within ourselves that we're meant to occupy. I'm writing a book about this right now. I will share that when it's ready. But I believe that we occupy probably a half or a third of the dimensions we were meant to occupy originally, and that it's our job to take back the rest of them And I believe that the aspects are within us, the dimensions are outside of us, and that they mirror each other, and that when you gain or lose an aspect of yourself, surrender, abandon an aspect of yourself, let's say, then you surrender and abandon a dimension outside of us. And our goal is to ascend into the other dimensions while keeping the ones that we possess, so that we are back in control of the full realm that we were meant to occupy. And I believe that creation, as we think of it as separate from us, has agreed to play a supporting role in that. That plants and animals have agreed that, hey, you know what, you're going to eat some of us. And our part is to fuel you for the ascension that will bring about the ascension of all of creation, the return to glory of all creation. And that's agreement, and that's the agreement, and that's the sacrifice that nature is willing to make. It's very possible that the greatest contribution a cow can make or a pig can make to the ascension of all creation, to the return to glory of all creation, is as fuel for humans to do the work that we're here to do as the spearhead. I think that's very possible. And when I eat from that perspective, with that gratitude and with that understanding that every time I eat, it's a reinforcement, it's a remembering of the agreement of what I'm here to do. That feels complete for me. But we have not honored that agreement as humans. In fact, we've done the opposite. We have taken the resources of the planet and used them to continue our fall, to continue to abandon aspects of ourselves, abandon dimensions of the world, and turn over what we are meant to occupy to chaos and to the possibility for entities that don't belong here to move into that chaos space that we have abandoned, that is just waiting for something to occupy it, that we're making space for those entities to terraform the dimensions that we leave behind and then occupy them. And we're doing that more and more and more. And technology is one of the tools we use to abandon our own lives. We use technology to make our fall more comfortable. That's also a book I'm working on. I'm going to try to put those two books into one book. This is a betrayal of our relationship with creation. It's the opposite of what we agreed to do. It would be one thing if we just weren't getting the job done, but we're kind of neutral. But the fact that we are robbing the planet, that we are receiving the sacrifices of nature and using those sacrifices to destroy nature even more, that's not okay. And this is not a climate change video. This is not an issue with CO2. Plants love CO2. Don't know if you know that. Yeah, it's a big deal. They really like CO2. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about every other thing we're doing to the planet. So that was the message I got. And I went out. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened. It would take a while. But I went out into the desert after that, just a little ways into the desert. I was already in Utah in a deserty place. And I had an experience that reinforced that this is true. And that was that. 4 or 5 days later, my hometown experienced a weather situation that was very unusual for us. We have kind of tornadoes. We have tornadoes sometimes, and they do a little bit of damage. But this was unusual. We had a few tornadoes come through. We had a lot of damage in the whole region. And I don't know that that's related, but it's an interesting interesting coincidence if it's not related. What does it look like when creation no longer agrees to work with us, no longer agrees to support us, because we have broken our contract and our agreement for so long? So I've been out in nature for months now, traveling in the West, and I will stop occasionally at different places and try to, what's the word? Anyway, um, try to restore, I suppose, my part in my relationship with nature, and just have a conversation and make the apologies that I feel like are necessary, that I can honestly, genuinely make for my part in this. And when I do that, I met with some pretty interesting nature phenomenon and phenomena. I think that's the plural. And that's something I'm going to keep doing. And my sort of hope is that other people would see this video and start considering the same. That you would go out and find a way to make some restitution. The best way to restore our relationship with nature, and hopefully bring creation back into relationship with us so that we can do what we're here to do, is to do what we're here to do. We are not here to consume everything and give for no purpose and no goal. We are not here to be born and then just die and consume along the way. We're here to get something done. And our consumption and nature's sacrifices that it makes in order for us to do that should be meaningful. So I hope that you would consider going out and trying to restore your relationship, or continue to have a healthy relationship with nature, depending on where you're at in the process. And maybe even have conversations with these, I don't know if that's such a good idea. Some people get tricked when they do that. Sometimes there are certain entities that like to step in and pretend to be the thing that you want to have a conversation with. And sometimes it might take a bit of time to work out the details and figure out what's what. Some people aren't very good at noticing imposters when it comes to conversations with entities. So maybe I'll leave that up to you, but maybe the best thing that we can do is to restore our relationship with creation, is to do what we're here to do, which is ascend, which is do the uncomfortable work, which is understand that anytime that the let's just say, anytime we make a deal with the devil, the deal is always, if you give up a dimension, I will make you a god of a lesser world. And then we always slide down into being slaves of the world that we were made gods of, and then the same deal comes. Well, now you got to give up another dimension, and I'll make you god of an even lesser world, a king, a queen of an even lesser world. God's offers are the opposite. If you are willing to be humble, I will make you a novice of a greater world. I will add a dimension to you, one that you are not comfortable occupying yet because you haven't been there. But you will grow into it. You will mature into it. You will become an adult of that dimension. And then you will have an opportunity to ascend into an even higher dimension and occupy it. There's a verse in the Bible that says that, I think the correct interpretation is that all of creation eagerly anticipates the return of the sons of God, or the emergence of the sons of God. And this implies not children of God, not babies, not infants and toddlers and schoolboys. This means grown men who have matured into a sonship that gives them authority and that gives them power in the world that they are meant to occupy. Creation is waiting for the emergence of the sons, and I believe daughters, of God to come and restore this world to what it was originally supposed to be and what it was. That's what we're here to do, and each of us has a part to play in that. If we are faithful to move in that direction, creation will re-agree, will re-enter into a relationship with us and support us. I have had some experiences with natural phenomena, with the consciousness of the world, in support of what I was doing when I was working toward the ascension of all things, that most people just wouldn't believe, and I don't really talk about, because it just ends up causing people to stumble. There are things available to us that are so far beyond what we know. If we are willing to do our part in working toward ascension, the things and the partnerships, the relationships that will come up to support us in that process are so fulfilling and meaningful that I hope everyone has a chance to experience it. All right, leave it at that.